What if I told you that throughout history, entire civilizations, legendary explorers, and powerful individuals have simply vanished without a trace, leaving behind only whispers and fragments that official historians refuse to acknowledge? Tonight, we delve into the shadows of the past, where the line between reality and cover-up becomes terrifyingly thin. The ocean holds secrets that governments would kill to keep buried. In the depths of the Atlantic, beyond the reach of conventional diving equipment, lies evidence of a maritime disaster so catastrophic that it rewrote the rules of international shipping overnight. But this wasn't the famous disaster you're thinking of. This happened decades earlier, involving a vessel that officially never existed. The ship in question was commissioned in secret by a coalition of European powers in the late 1800s. Its manifest was classified, its crew sworn to absolute secrecy, and its destination known only to a select few. What we do know comes from fragmented records discovered in a private archive that was mysteriously burglarized just days after researchers began examining its contents. The surviving documents speak of a cargo so valuable that nations went to war over far less, and passengers whose identities were erased from all official records. The vessel departed from a port that no longer appears on any modern map, carrying what one encrypted telegram described as the foundation of tomorrow's world. 3 weeks into its journey, radio contact ceased. Search efforts were called off within 48 hours. An unprecedented decision that sparked heated arguments behind closed doors of government buildings across 3 continents. The families of the missing were compensated handsomely for their silence, signing agreements that remain sealed to this day. But here's where it gets interesting. Decades later, deep-sea mining operations in the North Atlantic began reporting strange sonar readings, massive metallic structures that didn't match any known shipwreck, positioned in formations that seemed almost deliberate. When these reports reached certain government offices, the mining operations were immediately suspended. The official reason given was environmental concerns, but the real reason was far more unsettling. Local fishermen in the area began reporting impossible catches. Fish with unusual markings, some bearing what appeared to be manufactured tags made from materials that shouldn't exist in nature. These specimens were quickly confiscated by officials claiming to be from marine biology research institutes that, when investigated, had no record of employment for the individuals in question. The truth is that the wreckage was found, and what was discovered there challenged everything we thought we knew about the technological capabilities of the late 19th century. The ship's hull was constructed using metallurgy techniques that wouldn't be officially developed for another 50 years. The cargo hold contained machinery that bore no resemblance to anything in the historical record, devices whose purpose remains a mystery to this day. But the most disturbing discovery was in the passenger quarters. Personal effects that told a story of people who seemed to possess knowledge of future events, diaries containing detailed predictions about conflicts that wouldn't occur for decades, technological innovations that were still theoretical, and most chilling of all, accurate descriptions of their own disappearance. The official investigation was classified at the highest levels, and the wreckage was sealed using methods that ensure it will never be accessed again. The few researchers who were allowed to examine the evidence were bound by agreements so restrictive that they effectively ended their careers. Some chose exile rather than live with the knowledge they had gained. This brings us to our second case, one that spans continents and challenges the very foundations of archaeological understanding. In the early 20th century, a joint expedition was launched to explore regions of the Amazon rainforest that had never been mapped. The team consisted of archaeologists, botanists, and anthropologists from universities whose reputations were beyond question. Their mission was to document indigenous cultures and catalog previously unknown plant species. The expedition was funded by a private foundation, with connections to industrial empires that shaped the modern world. The foundation's board included individuals whose names appear in the shadows of every major historical event of the past 2 centuries. Their interest in the Amazon wasn't purely scientific. They were searching for something specific, something that ancient texts suggested was hidden in the deepest parts of the rainforest. Communication with the expedition remained regular for the first 6 months. Their reports described discoveries that would have revolutionized our understanding of pre-Columbian civilizations. Stone structures built using architectural principles that shouldn't have been known to indigenous peoples, inscriptions in languages that bore striking similarities to scripts found in completely different parts of the world, and most remarkably, evidence of metallurgy techniques that produced alloys unknown to modern science. The expedition's final transmission was received on a Tuesday morning in March. It was a single word, repeated 3 times, in a language that linguistic experts were unable to identify. After that, silence. Search parties were organized, but the Amazon is unforgiving to those who don't know its secrets. The rescue missions found no trace of the expedition, their equipment, or their research. But the story doesn't end there. In the decades that followed, indigenous communities in the region began reporting strange encounters, outsiders who appeared suddenly in their villages, speaking in ancient dialects that had been dead for centuries, carrying tools and wearing clothing that seemed to be made from materials that didn't exist in nature. These visitors would stay for brief periods, always asking about the same thing: the location of the stone city that the expedition had been seeking. Government officials dismissed these reports as folklore, but satellite imagery tells a different story. In the exact region where the expedition disappeared, vast areas of the rainforest show signs of geometric patterns that are only visible from extreme altitude. These patterns weren't there before the expedition's disappearance, and they continue to evolve, growing more complex with each passing year. The indigenous communities have become increasingly secretive about their encounters with the outsiders. Anthropologists who attempt to study these reports find themselves politely but firmly turned away. It's as if an entire culture has been sworn to secrecy about something they witnessed in the depths of the rainforest. Recent analysis of mineral samples from the region reveals trace elements that don't match any known geological processes. The composition suggests the presence of materials that would require technology far beyond anything that existed in the early 20th century. Yet the samples are definitely authentic, collected by independent researchers who had no knowledge of the expedition's fate. Our third case takes us to the frozen expanses of the Arctic, where the line between exploration and exploitation becomes dangerously blurred. In the 1920s, an international research station was established on a remote ice shelf to study atmospheric conditions. The station was a marvel of engineering, designed to withstand the harshest conditions on Earth and maintain communication with the outside world regardless of weather conditions. The research team included scientists from multiple nations, working together on projects that were supposedly focused on meteorology and Arctic wildlife. But classified documents that surfaced decades later reveal the true nature of their work. They were studying anomalous energy readings that had been detected by military installations across the northern hemisphere. Readings that suggested the presence of something beneath the ice that shouldn't exist. The station's reports described discoveries that challenged fundamental laws of physics, energy signatures that appeared to be artificially generated, emanating from sources deep within the ice sheet. Ground-penetrating radar revealed structures that displayed perfect geometric precision, too regular to be natural formations yet too ancient to be human constructions. The team's final report, transmitted just before their disappearance, contained readings that were so extraordinary that they were immediately classified by multiple governments simultaneously. The report described energy levels that exceeded anything produced by known technology, pulsing in patterns that suggested intelligence rather than random natural phenomena. When contact with the station was lost, the response was swift and coordinated in a way that suggested prior planning. Military units from 3 different nations converged on the location within days, an impossibly fast response time given the remoteness. What they found was a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The station was intact but completely empty. All equipment was functional, all supplies untouched, but the research team had vanished without a trace. There were no signs of struggle, no indication of emergency evacuation, no evidence of any kind of disaster. It was as if the researchers had simply ceased to exist. The most disturbing discovery was in the laboratory. The final experiment was still running, recording data from deep beneath the ice. The readings showed that whatever was down there had become active. Energy levels had spiked to unprecedented heights, and the geometric patterns had become increasingly complex. The station was dismantled within weeks, and the entire area was declared off-limits to civilian research. Official records state, the location is environmentally sensitive, but military satellites continue to monitor with an intensity that suggests ongoing concern about what lies beneath. Seismic monitoring stations around the world detected unusual activity in the Arctic region. The patterns didn't match any known geological phenomena, leading some researchers to speculate the source was artificial rather than natural. These researchers found their funding mysteriously cut and their access to seismic data suddenly restricted. What connects these three cases isn't just their mysterious nature, but the pattern of official response that followed each disappearance. In every instance, the initial investigations were conducted with unprecedented speed and resources, only to be abruptly terminated when certain discoveries were made. The evidence was classified, the witnesses were silenced, and the locations were placed under permanent restriction. The few individuals who possessed knowledge found themselves systematically isolated from the scientific community. Some disappeared under circumstances that were officially ruled as accidents or natural causes, but which displayed patterns that suggested a more deliberate explanation. Others accepted lucrative positions in private research facilities where their work would never see public scrutiny. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect is the evidence that they're not isolated incidents. Deep research into historical records reveals similar patterns of disappearance stretching back centuries, each involving individuals who had stumbled upon discoveries that challenged accepted understanding of our world's capabilities. The technology exists to monitor every square meter of our planet, yet these disappearances continue to occur with disturbing regularity. The official explanations grow more elaborate, the cover stories more sophisticated, but the underlying pattern remains consistent. People who discover certain truths simply vanish, taking their knowledge with them, into a silence that spans generations. The question isn't whether these disappearances are connected, but rather, what force possesses the resources and motivation to orchestrate such systematic suppression of knowledge? What discoveries could be so dangerous that they justify the elimination of entire research teams? What technology could be so advanced that its very existence must be hidden from public awareness? The answers lie buried in classified archives, guarded by organizations whose existence is itself a closely held secret. But the evidence is there for those willing to look beyond the official narratives, to question the convenient explanations, and to recognize the patterns that connect seemingly unrelated events across time and geography. The disappearances continue, the mysteries deepen, and somewhere in the shadows, those who guard these secrets wait for the next group of researchers to stumble upon truths that the world isn't ready to know. The question is, are you prepared to accept that our understanding of history, technology, and human capability has been deliberately limited by forces that operate beyond the reach of any government or institution we know to exist? The truth is out there, buried beneath layers of official denial and institutional suppression, but finding it requires more than curiosity. It requires the courage to accept that everything we've been told about our world's past may be nothing more than a carefully constructed lie designed to keep us from discovering what really lies hidden in the depths of the ocean, the heart of the rainforest, and the frozen expanses of the Arctic. The disappeared haven't truly vanished. They've been taken, along with their discoveries, into a reality that exists parallel to our own, one where the rules of physics, history, and human limitation don't apply. And somewhere in that hidden reality they continue their work, forever cut off from the world they once knew, forever guardians of secrets that could reshape everything we believe about our existence.